So you want to live in Indianapolis, but you don't want to live in Indianapolis. Maybe you don't like the idea of having to live in a high-rise condo. Maybe you don't like the idea of having to live in an older house where they're all right up against each other. Perhaps you don't want to live in the suburbs because, well, you have a commute because you work downtown, or suburbs can be more expensive than living downtown might be. So, what do you do? Well, I've got a community on the south side of Indianapolis that gives you the idea or the feel of suburban life with an Indianapolis address. Let me introduce you to Southern Dunes. It's a community on the south side of Indianapolis. It's in Perry Township, and it fits pretty much any type of lifestyle that you might want. In this video, I'm going to tell you what it's like on a day-to-day basis in Southern Dunes, what the prices are like in Southern Dunes, whether you're talking about a single-family residence or potentially a condo, what the commute is like and who lives here in the Southern Dunes area, what the schools are like in Perry Township from the elementaries to the middle schools to the high schools, and then what you can do next if this sounds like something you might be interested in. If you're new here, I'm Brian. I'm a realtor in the Indianapolis area. I do live on the south side of town. In fact, I live in Southern Dunes, so I do have a lot of information on this particular community. If you find interest in this, feel free to drop me a comment or send me a direct message. Hit that subscribe button and go ahead and share this with somebody that you might think would be interested in living in Southern Dunes. So Southern Dunes is located on the south side of Indianapolis. In fact, it butts up right against the county line that would get you into Johnson County, which would put you into Greenwood. So it's about as far south as you can get in Indianapolis and still have an Indianapolis address. Southern Dunes is about 10 miles from downtown Indianapolis. It's conveniently located right next to I-69. A short drive north takes you to 465, which can get you around the circle of Indianapolis. And maybe one of the most convenient features of Southern Dunes is that it's located not too far from the airport. It's about a 15, maybe 20-minute drive to the airport with a couple of different directions you can go, just in case that highway traffic might get you to miss that flight. Southern Dunes is made up of 12 communities. It stretches from the north end, which is Southport Road. It is on the east side is I-69. On the south side, it goes almost as far south as County Line Road. The main road that comes into Southern Dunes is Wicker Road on the south side, but there's a community that stretches down to County Line Road. And then on the west side, you kind of have the White River, but there is a road over there called Lake Road, which forms the perimeter of Southern Dunes. Within those 12 communities, you're going to find all sorts of living. You've got single family residences. That actually makes up the majority of the Southern Dunes area. But there are condos on the northeast end of Southern Dunes. You do tend to find that it's maybe geared towards a 55 and older community because you have ranch condos, but it's not a requirement that you are 55 and older to live there. There are also townhomes on the northern end that butt up against Southport Road. So you really have a lot of options when it comes to style of living within Southern Dunes. And of course, those lots of options gives you multiple different price points. Now, within Southern Dunes, there's also an apartment complex called Southern Dunes Apartments. Now, I'm a realtor and I don't deal with rentals, so that's not an area that I'm going to talk about here. But if you are interested in rentals, Southern Dunes Apartments is a place that you can go. In the center of Southern Dunes, you'll find Rosa Parks Elementary School. That's one of the elementary schools that's within Perry Township. The majority of kids K through 5 who go to Perry Township schools, they wind up in Rosa Parks. It used to be a choice school. It is no longer that. So it pretty much anybody here in Southern Dunes is going to wind up going to Rosa Parks. Now, one of the nice features of being a Southern Dunes resident is the clubhouse. There is a Southern Dunes golf course. Now, as a resident of Southern Dunes community, you don't get any type of a price break going to the Southern Dunes golf course because it's technically separate from the Southern Dunes community, but it is in the middle. And some of the neighborhoods actually have some of the golf holes that wind around the neighborhood streets. The Southern Dunes Clubhouse also has a community pool and 2 tennis courts. They have actually turned into pickleball courts now. And as a Southern Dunes resident, you do have access to utilize those amenities without any extra cost. It is only open to Southern Dunes residents, in fact. So everyone is given their own key fob so they can get in. You can bring guests, but you do have to be a resident to actually access that on a regular basis. The Southern Dunes Clubhouse does have a restaurant inside of it and golf simulators. So if you're looking to work on your golf game in the off season, well, go hit up one of the simulators. Now, if you looked online, Southern Dunes doesn't necessarily get a great walkability score. I think that's a bit misleading because all of the communities here in Southern Dunes have sidewalks and they are safe to walk around on. Ride your bikes, take your dog for a walk, all great. There's even a playground within the center, not too far from Rosa Parks, where the kids can go play and you can access the Rosa Parks playground when school is not in session. So I think the walkability score that you're going to find online again is a bit misleading because from Southern Dunes to walk anywhere else, not necessarily very convenient, but there's really not a lot to walk to outside of Southern Dunes anyway, so maybe that's not such a big deal. But it is a short drive from here. Over on the other east side of 69, there is a supermarket, Kroger. There's a small shopping center, a couple of restaurants, and a bar. There is some new construction going on the northeast end of Southern Dunes after the I-69 highway project got completed. Some new restaurants have popped up. There's a new McDonald's, a new Taco Bell, a new Zaxby's, soon to be a car wash, a small shopping center, and a couple of small hotels. And then just across Southport Road, you'll find another restaurant and a workout facility, a small little area to visit as well. And then from Southern Dunes, you can either hit Southport Road and go east or hit County Line and go east. And you can wind up getting into more of a busy area such as State Road 135 and US 31. Both of those have plenty of restaurants, bars, shopping centers, YMCA, lots of things to do in just probably a 10 or 15-minute ride, depending on traffic. All right, so you're intrigued. So, what's it going to cost to live in this wonderful community of Southern Dunes? I'm glad you asked. Now, because there are 12 different communities, you have a price range that's pretty wide from the low to the high, and the fact that there are townhomes and condos in there, those tend to be less expensive than a full-blown single-family residence house. So you do have kind of a wide range. So I'm going to break the price breakdown into two different categories: all of Southern Dunes and just single-family residences. So for all of Southern Dunes, you're looking, and this is as of February 2026, a median price of about 254,000. The estimated value from online data is a little bit higher at 267,000. Currently, there's only 1.6 months of inventory, which would lean towards it being a seller's market because it shows that there's not a lot of inventory. However, in the current market situation where things tend to be moving a bit slow, sellers don't necessarily have the advantage that a 1.6 months on market would tell you. And right now, again, in February 2026, days on market is about 38, which is a little bit less than what all of central Indianapolis is going through. Now, if we just break that down into single family residences, the numbers tend to be a little bit different. So you'll notice that the median sold price here is almost $20,000 more than just all of the homes put together. Median estimated value, also 275,000, so a little bit higher than the median sold price. Again, months of inventory is 1.15, which is lower than all of Southern Dunes. So again, still considered a seller's market, but that does depend on your price and how many buyers are actually looking. And then days on market for single family homes is at 68, which seems to fit right in with what most of central Indiana is going through right now. So as you can see, there is a big difference between the single family homes and their perceived value and all of Southern Dunes. When you throw in the condos and the townhomes, it brings that value down a little bit. That's not necessarily a negative thing. It just obviously goes towards the fact that townhomes and condos tend to sell for a lower amount of money because they tend to be smaller. Thus, when you talk about median and average, those are two different things. But when you look at those numbers, it's going to come down because you're adding in smaller numbers. One of the things that's historically true about Southern Dunes is lots of people are looking to live here. They know that it's a wonderful community with a school right in the middle that gives you a suburban feel with an Indianapolis address. You don't have the hustle and bustle of being downtown. You don't have super busy streets, but you have this community where you almost feel like you're living in a suburb. February 2026, the housing market is a little bit slow. Coming out of the holidays and entering a new year, you've got winter. We had a whole bunch of snow in late January, and that certainly kept people away. So, days on market tends to look a little scarier than the reality. It's kind of normal for wintertime to be slower in real estate here in Indianapolis. When the market starts to heat up, you're going to see Southern Dunes start to just kind of fly off the shelves because people want to live here. The home values are good, the location is good, you have bonuses with the pool and the clubhouse that you can utilize as a resident here. So it won't shock me if we get into the spring and especially summer market that the days on market for Southern Dunes is going to drop dramatically, and you're probably going to see fewer homes on the market because they are going to likely sell quickly. At least that's been the trend in Southern Dunes over the last few years. One of the things that's interesting about the statistics that I showed is what the sale price of the homes is compared to what the listing price was. When you look at all 12 communities, sellers are getting about 97% of what they originally listed the home for. When you break it down into just the single family residences, they're getting about 95% of what they originally listed the home for. So, as a potential buyer, what that tells you is, well, there's an opportunity to negotiate. Normally, in a seller's market, which statistically Southern Dunes is, these sellers have an advantage because usually it means that there's more opportunity to get multiple offers and maybe raise the price through the multiple offer situation, but that's not happening. Homes are sitting on the market longer. And for whatever reason, whether it's the fact that these sellers maybe price their homes too high or the fact that we just don't have a lot of movement in the market right now. And so, in order to get a home sold, you got to lower the price. Whatever reason there is, homes are selling at a lower percentage than what they originally asked. And that is certainly a good thing for buyers. As the season moves into spring and then summer, won't shock me if that gets much closer to 100%. Because so many residents of Southern Dunes have children, schools are really important. And that is actually one of the big reasons that people move to Southern Dunes is to be in the Perry Township School District. Now, Perry Township is actually made up of a school district that is two sides. There are 17 total schools in all of Perry Township. You have 11 elementary schools, you have two sixth grade academies, you have two middle schools, which is seventh and eighth grade, and then you have two high schools. Southern Dunes feeds into the Perry Meridian High School side. The other side of the district is Southport High School. Both of those score very high on the rankings within school districts that give a A through F school rating. Starting at the elementary school level, like I said, the majority of kids who live within Southern Dunes, if they're going to public school, they're going to wind up at Rosa Parks. Of all the elementary schools within all of Perry Township, Rosa Parks is tied for the highest rated, most recently getting an A minus grading. The kids from Rosa Parks will then feed into Perry Meridian Sixth Grade Academy. That gets a B plus rating. Those kids wind up going into Perry Middle School. That has an A minus rating. Those kids wind up going to Perry Meridian High School, which has a B plus rating. So as you can see, they're tracked from elementary school, starting in kindergarten, all the way through high school. They're going to some very good schools where they're going to get a really, really good education. Now, if public school is not your track, maybe you're looking for a private school situation. Well, number one, you're going to have to provide your own transportation. So that is very important. But within the private school sector, a lot of people wind up going to St. Barnabas, which is a nearby Catholic school. There's Calvary School. There's not too far away. You could go south into Greenwood and go into the Center Grove area. You've got Greenwood Christian Academy. There are options there. As they move on from elementary school, a lot of those people wind up at either Greenwood Christian High School, Greenwood Christian Academy, or they wind up going to Roncalli. Now, Roncalli is a very well-respected Catholic high school located on the south side of Indianapolis. And again, you do have to provide your own transportation to get over there. Now, if you live within Southern Dunes and your kids go to Rosa Parks, they can actually walk to school or ride their bike if they want. That does obviously have to be arranged and allowed by the school, but it is an option. And I know that there are several neighborhoods right next to the school where kids do walk or ride their bike. I've seen the bike racks outside, and that's kind of a cool community feature that Rosa Parks allows. Otherwise, you're taking a bus. If your kid doesn't go to Rosa Parks, they would wind up going to Glens Valley Elementary School, which is just a few minutes ride away by bus. It also is highly rated. It falls into the B range, but still a very good elementary school. Now, if you're thinking about moving to Southern Dunes, you definitely want to make sure that you check the school district boundaries to make sure that you're moving into the right area. And I would do that before you decide to buy a house and move into Southern Dunes, because you might wind up thinking that your kid is going to one particular school and realize, man, they're going somewhere completely different. If you're going the private school route, I would suggest you check your commute times, especially if they wind up at Roncalli, because getting from Southern Dunes to Roncalli can be a lot of traffic and can take you, well, a while to get over there. All right, let's talk about who lives in Southern Dunes. Now, With 12 communities, the majority of them being single family homes with a elementary school right in the middle of the neighborhood, you're going to find that there are a lot of families that live within Southern Dunes. Let's take a look. All right, when you take a look at the occupations of those who live within Southern Dunes, the majority of people are in the transportation and warehousing business. Next to that would be healthcare and social assistance. Going down from there, you've got retail trade, then education, lots of teachers or administrators here in Southern Dunes, and then down into manufacturing. If you take a look at the income of those who live in Southern Dunes, the largest one would be those who make more than 150,000. And these are household incomes, not just necessarily one person. After the more than 150,000, the next one falls into the 75 to 100,000 and then down into the 50,000 to 75,000. Now, because there isn't any public transportation around Southern Dunes, people commute to their work. So with commute times, you look at the largest sector of this graphic here, 48% of the population of Southern Dunes has about a 15 to 30-minute ride to their workplace. 35% is the next largest one, which has a 30 to 45-minute drive to their workplace. The nice thing is only 7% have a 1-hour drive or more to commute to work. So who is Southern Dunes best for? Honestly, it's hard to say because there are so many options. Townhomes, condos, maybe condos for an older population, single family residents, smaller homes where you don't necessarily even have to have a family, people who like golf, people who are looking for a place with a community pool, people who are looking for more of a lifestyle that gives them a suburban feel with a city address. There's so many options in Southern Dunes. That's what makes it a really nice community in which to live. Now, the affordability of that can be a little bit on the high side. We do have homes that are over 400,000 in Southern Dunes, but we also have some that sell in the low 200,000 range. Just depends on what fits your price point. If you're looking for a place with a short commute, Southern Dunes might be it because as I said earlier, most people have a 15 to 30-minute commute to their job, maybe a little bit higher at 30 to 45, but still, that's not too bad with the convenience of I-69, I-465, and quick access over to 31 and 135 or go west over into the Mooresville and Canby area. Getting places from Southern Dunes really doesn't take that long. Now, if you're looking for a community with a nightlife or walkability to restaurants and bars and fun stuff, I'll be honest, Southern Dunes probably isn't for you. If Southern Dunes sounds like something that might appeal to you, drop me a comment or shoot me a DM. My contact information is down in the show notes. I can run comps for you. I can show you which section of Southern Dunes might work out best for you because there are different price points depending on which community you are in. If you want to know what size homes sell faster than others, maybe it's the ranch homes, maybe it's two-level homes, I can work that out for you as well. Southern Dunes is a great community and I've lived here for several years. If you want to work or talk to somebody who lives the life in Southern Dunes, definitely hit me up with a comment or a question because I can answer that for you. And please share this with somebody who might be looking to make a move into the Southern Dunes and south side of Indianapolis area. Thanks for watching.